Very good afternoon again. The topic that I'm taking up for discussion here is global sourcing. Um, this is a topic that was quite related to a topic that we discussed in the earlier video on BPOs and outsourcing. So, global sourcing is an international business strategy per se today, where companies today are procuring their goods and services from different parts of the world, wherever they have a cost advantage, and wherever these companies are able to believe that there are other firms that are best in the world and best in class, and who could supply these goods and services to them at a much lesser cost and advantage compared to they themselves. So that's where companies today are outsourcing most of their non-core businesses to other business firms across the world, and thereby taking the leverage, taking an advantage of the economies of scale and the production cost advantages that the world of outsourcing is able to offer. So let's look at a little more in detail about global sourcing, and we look at a very specific case about how India is able to gain the advantages and benefits of global sourcing. So, global sourcing is a procurement strategy that is aimed at exploiting the advantages that international business and globalization is able to offer, whereby we are able to take the advantage of the efficiencies of production that is seen across the world because of resource as well as many other source of advantages that other countries have over us. So, global sourcing sources discusses prevailing competitive environment in our country. As I told you, we'll take up the case of India and look at the opportunities and challenges that Indian industry in itself has when it comes to outsourcing, and then what is that, what measures do Indian businesses have to take if they have to stay competitive and also be able to gain that advantage of sourcing many goods and services from India to other businesses in different countries of the world. So, where does all this begin? So, let's understand what global outsourcing is in a little more detail. So, globalization, the world economy under the World Trade Organization, opened up several opportunities many years ago, and World Trade Organization today, plays a very important role in trying to, bring in all those countries onto all their member countries on board so that they are able to trade very effectively by ensuring that they mutually discussed through bilateral and multilateral negotiations, and thereby reduce tariff and non-tariff barriers and encourage more of import and export to take place. So that's when once countries are able to open up their borders and remove all those restrictions and then liberalize the free movement of goods and services, then automatically it becomes a good case for global sourcing. So, global sourcing is described as a practice of sourcing cost effective and best goods and services across geographical boundaries in order to cater to local markets. So, buying the best from anywhere in the world, where it offers a cost advantage is what we understand as global sourcing. And usually, efficiencies that prompt firms for global sourcing are low cost, skilled labor, low cost raw materials. That's available in another country, proximity to key markets, time zone differences between the West and the East, and other economic factors such as tax exemptions that one country is able to offer, or lower taxes or tariffs and non-tariff barriers that a certain country has. So we're trying to take advantage of it, and thereby ensure that as a country we have an advantage when it comes to global sourcing. So global sourcing strategy has made Indian industry more globalized, particularly in the service area, especially with IT and ITES industry, where we have seen that we have set up the back office of the world, where almost all service IT and ITES and now R&D related businesses are outsourced to India because India offers a fairly big advantage compared to rest of the other countries of the world because of the high quality labor that we have in our country. So, in a globalized setup, trade and commerce of skilled services such as IT enabled services, software development, testing, purchasing, engineering, and integrated chip designing, KPOs, offshoring and home shoring, and is growing much faster, and then trade and merchandise is also increasing within our country. So these are advantages is what makes India a global hub for outsourcing that many uh, countries can look forward to take advantage in the long run. So what is why is India preferred as a outsourcing destination is what we're going to look at in this particular slide. So why does the world or companies around in the world prefer India as a destination? The first one is for labor arbitrage, which we call as the labor advantage, because India has a very vast population of about 1.3 billion people within our country. And then we also have the advantage of a demographic dividend whereby less than about 60% of our citizens are below the age of 50 years, and hence they are in active employment, and they're all very productive and contributing to the economy. And third, we have an advantage of a large English speaking knowledgeable population that is able to understand the needs of the global markets, because it's able to have an advantage in terms of the business language called English, and thereby able to communicate with countries in the US or in UK, and also in countries like Australia. So secondly, it offers a good cost restructuring as an advantage. Thirdly, companies are able to focus on their core business and offer non-core areas to outsourcing. So most of the back office work and back end operations, customer relationship management, vendor management, payroll management, many other such kind of businesses and other non-core activities have been outsourced to India. We have a skilled and knowledgeable manpower. We have a better capacity management. And Indians are known. Indian companies and Indians are known for their resilience to change, and also their agility to change. That's more important. Rather than resilience or withstanding, we're also very agile, and any sort of changes are brought into our systems, or and employees are able to adapt as quickly as possible. Our product and service quality is of world-class standards. We have operational expertise and scalability, and also commoditization of our services is also another big advantage that the world is able to see, and that's why India is a very very preferred destination. And we've made such kind of inroads when it comes to the service sector that we are in an envious position in the world when it comes to our services outsourcing industry. So these are the reasons why global outsourcing could take place, is because lower salaries and wages, because there is a labor advantage that a country could get from another country that has a labor advantage. So that's the case for us in India, because we have a large population, a working population, and then the supply of labor is large. So the same piece of work that is done in a labor short country can be done a lot more easier and cheaper here, and that's where we get the advantage. So low salaries and wages can be paid. Secondly, regulatory cost of doing business is also quite easy in India, and with the present government coming up with Make in India, and also the concept of the ease of doing business, having removed a lot of restrictions, and trying to make it a lot more easy for clearances and permits and for foreign companies to come and do business. So when the regulations are removed, and it becomes a lot more easy to set up business contacts, and then um, you know get into the whole act of doing business within a country or outsourcing it, has been a lot more easy. And the government has understood that there's a lot of advantage that we are able to gain by outsourcing, is because we are able to provide large scale employment to people within our country. So that's a big benefit, and that's the reason why more companies and countries would want to come and set up their base here. Thirdly, governments offer a lot of tax benefits, a lot of subsidies, a lot of red carpet welcome is accorded to foreign companies when they come in for outsourcing, and give their business to our country in India. Yeah, there's improved performance that they are able to get, and when there is a very high quality of work that they receive from a country like India, so there is more scope for us to be getting a lot more business. The next advantage is faster turnaround, the speed at which we are able to handle things and operationalize it, and then be able to deliver the outcome of the commodity is really good. The turnaround time or the has been really good when it comes to goods and services. And uncertainty over political and business climate does exist, but fairly, since there is a stable government, and then the government is also very keen on trying to ensure that it is very welcome with companies and countries outside the world with doing business with Indian companies. So obviously, the government also has been on a friendly mode, and very often it comes across as a very investor friendly kind of a government. Another advantage is, yes, India also happens to be very geographically located. It's in a very strategic position where it can reach out to the west as well as to the east and to the southeast to a large extent. So most companies would want to come and set their bases up, be it production or be it R&D or be it in services and so on, and so thereby able to reach out to their market. So they make this as a center from where everything else I mean they can easily reach out to markets and gain those benefits really well. So the advantages that India can offer, advantages in global outsourcing, not just for India, but it's a case generally that can be looked into for the advantage of outsourcing. As business operations get diversified into global production chains due to globalization, companies have to evaluate the choices, decisions, and strategy of outsourcing. So that's the decision that we took in the last point we were discussing about when businesses today want to take advantage of the opportunities that outsourcing is offering to them. So they look at their entire business and then look at what is core and what is non-core, and what is core is what they would want to keep, what is non-core is what they would want to outsource. And today, when the supply chain is established and well connected and integrated around the world, companies are in a fairly good chance and position to evaluate their strategies and choose the best from what the global supply chain is able to offer. And today, multinational companies are also, moving across borders and setting up businesses in different parts of the world. And every government today is very friendly, is because they want more and more foreign companies to come and set businesses up, because countries' development also depends on international companies, foreign direct investment. So that gives a lot of scope for them to create opportunities within the country, grow, and then take care of a whole lot of economic issues that the country domestically faces. So these are some of the advantages that that particular company gets when it outsources. One is, yes, it gets the benefit of a core competency, because generally those are the businesses that are offered, business activities that are offered are the ones in which the outsourcing firm does not have a core competency or does not have a competitive advantage. So it wants to give it to some company out in the world which has a better competitive advantages, has very good operational efficiency, or is able to manufacture or do the same thing in a least cost method. Secondly, outsourcing gives them the advantage of efficient and effective operations, because the company to which we have outsourced is the best in class, and they are experts when it comes to doing it compared to us. Thirdly, it reduces overhead expenses, because you're not putting everything into your basket. Now you're freeing your arms up and just concentrating on just one or two core areas of your business. The remaining is going to an outsourced partner who's an expert and who's able to who's achieved operational efficiencies, achieved economies of scale, and has also reached up to a scalable limit, whereby has is starting is accruing marginal cost and low cost advantages as such. Fourthly, yeah, there's manpower availability as well as flexibility, and there's better control on operations, because we concentrate just on one or two of our core businesses, and our supply chain partners take care of the others. So each one is vested with a specific responsibility, and hence each one is able to take care of it at their own ends. And then obviously all of this ultimately brings about a very sustainable business operations, reduces costs, reduces diversifies risk and reward across the platform or across the supply chain. So those are big advantages that outsourcing is able to give us, and that's what companies today are uh, are trying to take, and more businesses are trying to use this particular opportunity to increase and scale their business when it comes to competitiveness, and then achieving efficiencies. So what are the disadvantages? Yes, obviously it comes with a lot of challenges and disadvantages. The disadvantages of outsourcing are, once you start outsourcing a business activity, you lose managerial control over it. So that's the point, which is a point that we've got to keep in mind. It's very important that you are able to outsource it to the best business outsourcing business partner in the world, outsourced vendor was the best in class. Along with that, you must ensure that you retain the bargaining power and not allow the bargaining power to go to the outsourced vendor, because the outsourced vendor in the long run or somewhere down the line can start taking control, and then can start trying to impose or start dictating terms to the original manufacturer or to you. So it's very important that you outsource, but you must ensure that the coordination and the control is still with you. Secondly, there could be a lot of hidden costs which may not be revealed by the outsourced partner. So what comes across um, on the face or on paper may not be exactly what actually is taking place in the business. So there could be a lot of hidden costs that may be revealed much later. And once you've plunged yourself neck deep into it, it's very difficult for a business to stop, withdraw, and then salvage and then come back. Thirdly, yes, a whole lot of security and confidentiality issues are also there, because when you're parting with your business activity, you're also parting with a lot of know-how in terms of technology, manufacturing, a lot of game plan, a lot of strategy. All of that can go to them, needs to be revealed to them. And if those particular companies do not have high levels of integrity, then that's when your business could suffer. There could be quality issues also, because goods that are goods and the goods that are manufactured by your outsourced partner may not match up to the expectation, or may not match up to the standards that you have given. So if they do not match up to your expectation and your levels of performance, then that could be a big hit for the company. And then there could be financial dependence on another company, that's also there. If those outsourced partners have other business dealings and other business issues, or have subcontracted, and so that can further down the supply chain could create a lot of issues for the company. And there can be a lot of ill will and bad publicity if your outsourced vendor or partner gets into unethical activities, or does get into something really fraudulent, or something that is really damaging for themselves as well as for the company. So whichever big company gets associated with an unethical company could also face the heat of the public and the world, and then that could give rise to bad image and unwanted negative publicity that a company will have to handle. So these are certain disadvantages that are going to be there. So, but we need to weigh the advantages and disadvantages, and make the best use of it. And that's where companies will have to be very keen on knowing what exactly they have to do, and how they have to move forward in choosing the right companies that they would want to deal with or outsource their business to. So all of these are what you see in detail in these points. So let's come to the global outsourcing challenges to Indian industry. So strategic planning and review of the advantages and disadvantages of each scenario under the company will outsource its business operations to the other countries and regions. So these must be done keeping in mind several other factors. So advantages and disadvantages must be equally weighed enough, and whichever country and company that you are going to do business with, you need to do a deep down background study analysis, find out the track records of this company, financial performances of the company, and then get every detail clarified, and every detail has to be put under the clause into the terms and conditions that you're entering into. When you're entering into business with an outsourced partner, when you're writing those terms of contract or terms of conditions. So that's very important. So, what are the major challenges that are encountered by Indian industries is recruiting competent and skilled workforce. Secondly, training and development of manpower. Third is controlling attrition and managing retention. Fourth is ensuring satisfactory customer satisfaction, and the fifth would be infrastructure and logistical challenges. So, if Indian outsourcing industry has to really do well, and if we want to attract more and more companies to come into business with India, and then have tie-ups with Indian companies, and then India starts contributing, more in terms of its expertise and knowledge and domain and the products and services to the world. It's all possible. We are able to handle some of these very important aspects. So the first aspect is to recruit competent and skilled workforce. So that's very important for Indian companies. So the job market, yes, of course, is quite big, and we have a huge supply of labor. But it's very important that it's not just the quantity of labor. We must be able to concentrate on the quality of labor and then ensure that we are able to bridge the gap between what candidates do possess or what employees do possess in terms of what they can offer to the organization and the job, and what the job or the organization itself has as a requirement. So we need to be able to have a proper recruitment strategy, and these companies will have to tie up with academicians, will have to tie up with institutions, will have to tie up with industry, will have to tie up with the government bodies, and then make sure that they have a plan by which they are able to bridge that particular employability skill gap, and thereby able to have very efficient employees working for these organizations. The second aspect is, yes, training and development. More investment and more focus has to go into training and development, so that we are able to prepare really competent employees, who are ready for the job. So that's where ready to work kind of employees could be trained, and they would have very little time that they will take in order to get into the jobs and then be able to do their jobs very well. So that's where training and development plays a very important component. A lot of money and investment, time and focus and effort and energy needs to go into ensuring that employees really fit the requirement and the bill. Controlling attrition and managing retention has been a very big challenge, especially when it comes to the IT and the ITES sector. We've seen, really around the year attrition happening because employees keep quitting and keep moving from one company to another because of several reasons. So that is one thing that we need to arrest. We need to ensure that employees do not leave jobs and then they fairly stick around with jobs and companies for a fairly long period of time. Only then we will be able to get the real advantage of having really loyal employees and employees sticking with us for a long time. Only then company will be able to at least reach to a certain level where it can compete and where it can offer quality services to the rest of the world. Fourth aspect, yes, we need to work on our customer satisfaction aspect. Ultimately, if it's B2B, we need to be looking at our clients, and if it's B2C, we need to be looking at our ultimate end customers, and then understand what is the requirement and of these companies that are outsourcing to us, and there we must be able to go do that extra mile for us, not just losing out, not just focusing on operational efficiency, but also be able to understand we are able to deliver goods and services that really fulfill and satisfy the requirement of the customer. That's very important. So ultimately, it is customer satisfaction that's going to really have more and more companies continue to do business with the firm, and also have more new companies coming to India because of the kind of good publicity that they are able to receive, and because of what clients and customers are able to talk about these companies and the kind of services that they have experienced, in the long run. And infrastructure and logistics, yes, definitely happens to be a very big challenge. But nevertheless, the government of India is making a lot of efforts to build that infrastructure. There are golden quadrilateral roads that are coming, shipping ports are increasing their business and activity. A lot of infrastructure is being brought into place. Rail infrastructure is being improved. Internet access, communication, ICT, all of these are a lot of changes that we are seeing. So all of that is done to ensure that India becomes a really very big hub when it comes to international business, and then India definitely would want to have, or Indian companies definitely want to have a big pie of the global business and global profits that the world makes as such. So, so concluding this particular short topic, yes, these are the points that we need to keep in mind. Global outsourcing is a procurement strategy that is aimed at exploiting global efficiency. So wherever in the world we're able to see a cost-effective resource, a world-class company, a company that is able to do things better than us, we must be able to outsource and get the advantage of those companies and what they have really gained over time. Secondly, global sourcing, described as a practice of sourcing cost-effective goods and services across the boundaries. So wherever in the world, as I told you, we must be able to deal with companies that have reached a certain scale, reached economies of scale, and are able to give us really good cost advantages. And reasons for outsourcing, yes, low salaries and wages in those particular countries, regulatory costs, tax breaks, improved performance, good turnaround, operational efficiency. All of these are points that we've got to keep in mind when we are deciding a country or a company. And there are more challenges for Indian companies, and Indian companies need to really work at scaling up their human resource development index so that the employees and the efficiency levels of our companies really rises up to global standards, and then we stand competitive enough in the world, and then we will be able to reach out to the world and make India a very big outsourcing hub for the rest of the world. Thank you.